ora koutou katoa, I'm Trisha Benge, I'm the Centre Director at Mackenzie Centre, and I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the story about Mackenzie Centre and our involvement with Now and Next. So I can't remember the specific date, but I was very fortunate to meet with Silvana and Anik back in 2016, and that raised my curiosity because we were very much looking at our internal evaluation around family-centred practice. And we thought that we were very strong at Mackenzie Centre, having documented our progress about our relational sort of family-centred practice, but we wanted to look more in more depth and greater detail at our what we call our participatory family-centred practice. And that is about choice and control and involvement of families. So what were some tangible things that we were actually doing? So there's a particular project that I'm involved in here in New Zealand called A Good Start in Life, and I sort of took up the challenge really about the intentional investment in staff and the intentional investment in parents and building the capacity of both those groups. So one of the tools that we used, particularly for families, was this tool called Now and Next, which I think congratulations to you, because it's been a huge success for us involving this platform for parent education at Mackenzie Centre. Some of the things that we learnt at Now and Next was about particular tools, and what I'm very keen for the staff here is to use the tools in the kind of language that they're using with parents. So one of the tools that you'll learn about on Now and Next is signature strengths. So that's really important that our staff understand about these tools, because our staff, to be clear, our staff are not delivering the Now and Next program. This is a peer. It's for families supporting their families. But it's really important from the professional's point of view that to enable these very important courses and tools that families are using, for us sometimes to continue that link in the things that we're doing. So I think those sort of things are really important. As I said, that intentional investment in staff is they need to know these tools, not necessarily to know all the depth that you might learn in the course, but they need to know about them as reminders or as reinforcers of things that when they're having conversations with families. Because I think probably our key thing that I'm working on at the moment is that families don't do this course and then they do that course and then they do that course. One of our jobs now, I think, is to link the learning from all the different courses so that you hear it in the language around the centre by the staff and by the families too. So one of the tools that we did take further from the course is the 5 windows or goals to action, which is a very useful tool. Just as a quick aside, for us, we're required by some of our government funding agencies to have a particular tool in hand for each family, which is called the individual plan, and you probably call it something different in the different countries that you're involved with. But the individual plan, some of the things about the Now and Next that we had to, and the 5 windows that we had to incorporate into our individual plan was specifically the goals, how the goals were worded, because we were required for them to be quite measurable, and we also had to incorporate monitoring into it. So we used some of the open-ended questions about the 5 windows and incorporated that into the individual plan tool that we are required to have. Okay, so that's just one aside. Going back to the 5 windows tool, it's a fabulous tool. I see it, and I've used it very much as like a problem-solving tool, so that if a family's getting stuck with their goal, you can actually bring out that tool and look at the 5 windows and think, where might be the barrier or an obstacle, and how can we dig deeper? And again, once the parents have that tool and are using it, then they've got it for a lifetime. So we wanted to see, is this tool useful, and how can we use it at Mackenzie Centre? So we did a little research, and we linked our research with being analysed by a clinical psychologist, Dr. Sid Davies, who lives in Utah, and he has a Māori background, so he's very interested in traditional the traditional way that Māori people are, and how do you see that evidenced when they move to a different country or a different place. But also for us it's like, how do we embed some of this into Aotearoa New Zealand. So we had 3 groups in our survey and in our research. We had families who had done Now and Next and used the 5 windows. We had families who were using our traditional IP, and then families who were introduced to 5 windows as part of the sessions here at Mackenzie Centre, but they hadn't done Now and Next. So basically, to summarise, the families who had done Now and Next and used the 5 windows tool use much more empowerment language. So as an example is if they reached a problem or something in the traditional IP group, the families might then say, I'll go and talk to my key worker about how to help with this thing. So they had a resource there, but it might be the professional. Whereas the group who had done Now and Next and used the 5 windows, they use language like, oh, I'd go back to my tool, I know what to do, I could this, I could do that. So it was quite clear there was much more agency and empowering kind of language used by the group who had done Now and Next and used 5 windows. So that was just some of the things that we found using that with that research. And of course what we're trying to do is get long-term difference. So Mackenzie Centre, we're an early intervention centre. We're only going to be with the families before the children go to school. So we really want to see that families have tools or know how to get the tools they need for the long haul. So for families who are thinking about Mackenzie Centre or would like to join Mackenzie Centre, or most particularly families involved in Mackenzie Centre who want to do Now and Next, remember that Now and Next is a researched evidence tool that we're using, and we're doing our own research to add to that. So it's a program that I would encourage you to think very strongly about doing, because it has so many benefits that are really important, not only for your child and your family, but also for all the other children and families out there. Kia ora.